Square Enix and the team behind the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy came out of the gate this past week swinging. The third and final game in the trilogy that seeks to remake the beloved Final Fantasy VII Revelation was revealed at the Summer Games Fest 2026 showcase at the very end. And this was done with not one, not two, not three, but 4 trailers. To say that Final Fantasy VII Revelation and its director Naoki Hamaguchi stole the show at one of the best video game showcases in recent memory is putting it mildly. This was very much how the final game in the trilogy needed to be announced, with a huge bang and a flood of tantalizing info. To recap, Final Fantasy VII, the Remake Trilogy, has taken almost a decade to make its way to fans, stretching out the classic and beloved PS1 RPG into 3 huge games. And, finally, come spring of next year, we'll at last have the answer as to whether it was all a bust or whether this extended approach was actually worth it. See, the Remake Trilogy, since the very first game, has been rather divisive for fans of Final Fantasy VII. The first game pissed off a ton of people with its approach to the story, with said story seemingly heading towards being a sequel rather than the remake that fans had been hungering for. The game seemed to be hinting at there being a different timeline, one where the original Final Fantasy VII had already happened, and this game, this story, was a do-over of sorts. And then, confusingly, with the second game in the series, Rebirth, everything got dialed back and pushed in the other direction. Rebirth seemed to indicate that no, this story wasn't a sequel, but a remake with a slightly different version of events that was more or less going to follow the original in spirit. And that seemed to be the case, until the ending of the game, which muddied the waters yet again. To that end, Revelation is the game that's finally going to answer this particular question, and director Naoki Hamaguchi is pretty confident that players are going to leave the story and this trilogy satisfied by the end. After that thundering reveal at the end of the Summer Games Fest, Hamaguchi didn't just take it easy and bask in what he had just done. No, instead, the man had a ton of interviews and an entire media blitz prepared for his game. And his first step? Well, the dude literally drove over to fighting game content creator and Final Fantasy VII mega fan Maximilian Dude's place to answer questions and do an impromptu interview live on stream. It was in that very interview that Hamaguchi added some solid additional context to the reveal that many of us had seen only an hour or so ago. Responding to a question from Max, Hamaguchi mentioned that Revelation, the title of the game, had many meanings, but one of them was the fact that the answer to the whole remake or sequel idea was going to be answered and serve as a sort of revelation for its players. So, the story, which is top of mind for everyone, is addressed first and foremost here. But thankfully, there's also a solid prospect for the gameplay as well. Revelation, from the trailer, really seems like it's building upon the foundations of Rebirth and really going to focus on nailing everything this time. I mentioned in my video on Rebirth that the thing that I was most excited about after playing the game was the fact that Square Enix finally had a winning formula for the Final Fantasy series and franchise as a whole, something that could be perfected and expanded upon in a future game. A solid combat system, an open world with exploration, a graphical system that looked jaw-droppingly gorgeous, all the pieces were there for the third game in the series to deliver. And it seems that the team behind the game has the same idea and are really finishing up on the execution of that gameplay loop with some neat additions and upgrades. There's a new job system that's been added to Rebirth's combat system. There's the new party members in Vincent and Sid that are not only playable this time, but look really darn cool. And then there's the new airship that allows you to travel all over the game world and parachute down to any location at any point in time. Player freedom, something Hamaguchi alluded to in interviews for Final Fantasy Rebirth, is also taking the focus with Final Fantasy VII Revelation. In a separate interview with Den Faminko Gamer, Hamaguchi revealed even more details about the aspect of player freedom and how it was being handled in the game. To that point, you not only get the Highwind airship pretty early in the game, but are allowed to either head to the next story objective and follow a more linear path, or go off the beaten path and explore any area and tackle any enemy you desire. And for those wanting to go off on their own, there's a ton of optional side content that's meant to be attractive to play rather than just be a distraction this time. Meaning, of course, that the side content is going to get a bit more development focus this time around. And if that weren't enough, the game will also have player choice affect the story to a certain degree, although it has been confirmed that there's going to be one definitive ending. Hamaguchi actually addressed a lot of other stuff in the interview too, like Zack being a major part of the story this time, locations from the previous games including Midgar being explorable, and even things like that messy affinity system from Rebirth being taken out. And honestly, looking at all that's been revealed thus far, and looking at the fact that Hamaguchi is being so proactive and fairly forthcoming with information, I'd say unlike Rebirth and even Remake, where there was a sense of nervousness and unease from the development team, it seems like Revelation is the game where this team is finally confident and going to deliver something superb. I really am expecting that Revelation is going to nail the story aspect, the one thing that Rebirth kind of mangled, and that Remake was at least doing something novel with. Now, are fans of the original Final Fantasy VII going to be happy with this game, or even have reasons to try it? Probably not. While I don't think that there's anything that the team behind Revelation can do to win those people over, the other group, the people that enjoyed Remake and that felt like Rebirth was a sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back game, those people are ripe for winning back here. And honestly, despite being one of those people that made an hour-long video on the channel that basically points to the failures of Rebirth, I really am hopeful and excited for this game. And to that end, I'll be covering any big updates or noteworthy things as we get closer to release. We are now right in the thick of the marketing and the hype cycle for Final Fantasy VII Revelation. And whatever your thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII remakes, it's definitely going to be an interesting and fun time moving forward. Finally, as always, I'm curious about what you think about all of this. Are you done with the Remake trilogy? Or are you willing to give Revelation a chance? What did you think of the reveal? Please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below and share your thoughts on what you think about Final Fantasy VII Revelation. And if you'd like to keep up with Final Fantasy VII Revelation and my analysis of it all, then please leave a like and subscribe, as we'll definitely be riding this roller coaster all the way down to release in spring of 2027. Thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the comment section down below, or at the very least, in the next video.